Alan Turing was never like the others. Born in 1912, he grew up shy, awkward, and endlessly curious. While other children memorized rules, Turing asked why. At school, he was mocked, bullied, even beaten. Teachers called him disorganized, careless, too strange to succeed. But beneath the chaos was brilliance. By 15, he was solving advanced mathematics on his own. He rode his bike 60 miles to school during a transportation strike just to make it to class. His notebooks overflowed with equations, ideas, and a way of thinking no one around him understood. Alan Turing was an outsider, and it was this very strangeness that would one day help save the world.
Turing enters Cambridge University, King's College, in the 1930s. The world sees an odd, distracted student. But inside lecture halls, Turing's mind takes flight. He studies mathematics with an intensity that surprises even his professors. Numbers, logic, patterns. To him, they are not just abstract, they are alive. In 1936, at only 24 years old, he publishes a paper that will define the future. He imagines a machine, built not of gears, but of logic itself, capable of solving any problem given enough time and instructions. It is the birth of computer science decades before computers exist. At Cambridge, the outsider becomes a pioneer.
Turing's 1936 idea becomes known as the Turing Machine. It is not made of metal or wires, but of thought. A simple device with a strip of tape, reading and writing symbols step by step. On paper, it looks like a toy. In reality, it is the foundation of all computers. Every laptop, every phone, every algorithm can trace its lineage back to this model. What Turing proved was extraordinary, that thought itself could be mechanized, that a machine, given rules, could simulate reasoning. In that moment, the dream of artificial intelligence was born, not in silicon, but in the imagination of Alan Turing.
1939. War erupts in Europe. Britain faces a terrifying enemy, the Enigma machine, a German invention that scrambles messages into millions of possibilities, impossible to solve by hand. The Allies are blind. Alan Turing is called to a secret estate, Bletchley Park, a place where mathematicians, linguists, and chess champions are gathered in silence to fight the unseen war of codes. Turing is quiet, awkward, often misunderstood by his colleagues, but he sees patterns no one else can. He builds a vision, a machine that can test possibilities at lightning speed, cracking Enigma's secrets. Day by day, night by night, he works in secrecy, knowing the future of the war depends on success.
Turing's work at Bletchley Park was hidden for decades. Sworn to silence, he told no one what he had done, not even his family. The truth only emerged long after his death, that Turing and his team broke Enigma, that their machine read German messages in real time, exposing U-boat positions, saving convoys, shortening the war by years. Historians now estimate Turing's code-breaking saved millions of lives. Yet the public never knew. No medals, no parades, no recognition. The man who helped save the world walked the streets as if he had done nothing at all. His heroism was a secret locked away in classified files. Turing designs a machine unlike anything before it. He calls it the bombe. Massive, mechanical, filled with drums and wires, a machine built to think faster than humans. Each bombe could test thousands of Enigma settings every minute, stripping away the layers of German secrecy.
With it, the impossible became possible. Every time the bomb clicked into place, lives were saved. Convoys carrying food, weapons, and soldiers crossed the Atlantic. Battles were won not by guns, but by logic. The bomb was more than a codebreaker. It was a step toward the modern computer, a machine built to solve the unsolvable.
By 1945, the war is ending. Germany collapses, and the Allies celebrate. But the world does not know the quiet man who made victory possible. Churchill himself admitted that Turing's work was the single greatest contribution to the Allied win. Historians estimate he shortened the war by at least 2 years. And yet, his name was never spoken. His genius remained a secret buried in government vaults. No public honor, no recognition. Alan Turing saved millions and returned to ordinary life as if nothing had happened.
Peace returned, but for Alan Turing there was no spotlight. While generals were knighted and heroes were celebrated, he went back to quiet work in universities and laboratories. At Manchester, he turned again to his vision of machines that could think. He sketched designs for the first stored program computer. He asked questions others feared. Could a machine learn? Could it reason? Could it, in some sense, be alive? While the world tried to rebuild, Turing was already living decades ahead, laying the foundations of artificial intelligence. But society wasn't ready for him. Not for his ideas, and not for the truth of who he was.
1952. Alan Turing, the man who helped save the world, is put on trial. His crime? Loving another man. Homosexuality was illegal in Britain. Instead of prison, he was forced into chemical castration, injections that broke his body, weakened his mind, and stripped away his dignity. The state that owed him everything destroyed him in silence. The secrets of Bletchley Park kept him from defending himself, from saying, "I am the man who broke Enigma." The hero of the war became a criminal in peace.
1954. Alan Turing is found dead in his home, a half-eaten apple by his bedside. The cause? Cyanide poisoning. Was it suicide, the final act of a man broken by persecution, or an accident, the result of careless handling of chemicals from his experiments? The truth remains uncertain. What is certain is this: at only 41, the mind that helped win a war, the father of modern computing, was silenced. Britain lost not just a man, but a future that could have been.
Decades after his death, the truth of Alan Turing finally came to light. His code-breaking was declassified. Historians revealed that his genius had helped end the Second World War, saving millions of lives. But his country had destroyed him. In 2009, the British government issued a public apology. In 2013, Queen Elizabeth II granted him a royal pardon. Today, his face appears on the 50-pound banknote. His name is honored in science, technology, and even Hollywood. The man, once erased from history, now stands as the father of computer science and artificial intelligence. The world that punished him now runs on his ideas.
There are stories about Alan Turing that rarely make it into the history books. He chained his tea mug to a radiator so no one could steal it. He cycled to work wearing a gas mask, not for war, but to keep his hay fever away. And when he needed to think, he ran long distances. He nearly qualified for the Olympics in the marathon. Some say Apple's bitten logo is a secret tribute to him, the man who died with a half-eaten apple by his bed. Apple denies it, but the legend lives on. And then there was his first love, Christopher Morcom, a school friend who died young. Turing never recovered. His grief turned into obsession to understand the mind, the soul, and whether machines could think. These pieces of his life, small, strange, human, remind us that behind the genius was a man who never quite fit in, but whose ideas shaped the world we live in.
Alan Turing's death is still a mystery. Officially, it was suicide, cyanide poisoning. But in his home, investigators found a lab filled with dangerous chemicals. Some believe he inhaled fumes by accident. Others think he dipped the apple in poison on purpose. But here's the secret. The inquest was rushed and evidence was destroyed. To this day, no one knows the full truth. Was it suicide? An accident? Or something darker? What we do know is that the world lost him far too soon. At just 41, his future inventions, his vision of intelligent machines, of biology explained by mathematics, died with him.
After the war, Alan Turing should have been a national hero. Instead, the government turned against him. Because of his sexuality, MI5 kept him under surveillance. They considered him a security risk, afraid he might be blackmailed by foreign agents. The irony is chilling. The man who cracked Germany's most secret codes was treated as if he were the enemy. Even worse, his wartime work remained classified for decades. He couldn't defend himself, couldn't tell the world who he really was. While others were knighted and celebrated, Alan Turing was forgotten in silence.
Turing's mind was never limited to codes and machines. He wanted to understand life itself. He studied how patterns in nature appear, the stripes of a zebra, the spirals of a sunflower, the spots on a leopard. His equations of morphogenesis are still used in biology today. At the same time, he was designing machines that could learn, adapt, even think. Decades before the term artificial intelligence was coined, Turing imagined computers growing like children, shaping themselves through experience. But his life was cut short before these visions could become reality. The seeds were planted, but the garden of his ideas would only bloom long after his death.
Alan Turing was a genius, but also wonderfully eccentric. He locked his coffee mug to a radiator with a chain, afraid someone might steal it. He biked to work wearing a gas mask, not for fear of attack, but to keep pollen away from his hay fever. When his bicycle chain broke, he didn't repair it. He just counted the rotations of the pedals, hopping off at the exact moment before it would slip again. And when he needed to think, he ran. Not just casually. Turing was a world-class runner, sometimes jogging 40 miles at a time. He nearly qualified for the Olympics. Running cleared his mind, giving him the rhythm to solve problems that baffled the world.
Before the war, before the codes, there was Christopher Morcom. Turing met him at school. Christopher was brilliant, kind, and the first person who truly understood Alan. But at just 18, Christopher died suddenly of tuberculosis. The loss shattered Turing. Friends said he never fully recovered. But in his grief, a question grew. What is the mind? Could thought, memory, even love survive beyond the body? That question drove him for the rest of his life. His vision of thinking machines, his search for the patterns of life, all were born from that first heartbreak. In a way, Christopher's death became the spark for Turing's greatest ideas.
Alan Turing left behind more than inventions and codes. He left words that still inspire, echoing long after his voice was silenced. Those who can imagine anything can create the impossible. We can only see a short distance ahead, but we can see plenty there that needs to be done. A computer would deserve to be called intelligent if it could deceive a human into believing that it was human. Sometimes it is the people no one imagines anything of who do the things that no one can imagine. These words remind us that Turing was not just a codebreaker, not just the father of computers, but a man who dared to dream of futures others couldn't even imagine. His legacy is not only in machines, but in the courage to think differently.